button now, so everybody hold on to your shorts. Good morning, WSU Tech. Welcome to Fix Your Content Day. All right. Let me just check a few things. 1 second. Okay, awesome. So today we are here to celebrate what is known as Global Accessibility Awareness Day. And we are going to do that by fixing all of our content, all that we can in 24 hours. So some of you may have already started. I know my diligent colleagues here in ITAS are already making fixes, but you may just be getting your morning cup of coffee, and that's fine because we have until midnight tonight to finish up those fixes. Now, I want to start off by saying that last year we took 12th globally. That is fantastic. And with that being said, we also made 2,336 fixes. So that is our goal for today, 2,336 fixes or more. And if we meet that goal, let me pull up something here for you because it will illustrate my point better than I can myself. One second. So while I'm getting that pulled up, I also want to note that we do have a Teams channel, and that Teams channel is something that you can ask to join. You can put in a ticket to ITAS, or you can look at any of the emails that we've sent out with the FYCD subject line and find the link to join that channel. The great thing about the Teams channel is that we can share documents and things that way. So if you have a document you're working on over the course of today and you want us to take a look at it in one of our Q&A sessions throughout the different hour blocks, we can absolutely do that, and you can share it in the Teams channel. I also want to mention that Courtney Johnson, the coordinator of ITAS, is going to be handling chat in both the YouTube live stream and in the Teams channel as I'm moving around and getting things done. So somebody will be answering your questions, or at least letting you know that they'll be answered shortly. But back to what I wanted to show you about today. And if you haven't been aware, the theme for today, which is GOAT, greatest of all time. I hope you all can see my screen. And this is a flyer illustrating the different teams that we have competing against each other. So first of all, we're working as a college to try to beat that 2,336 fixes. And if we do, we have goats coming to our faculty in service in the summer. That's right, goats to pet, to take pictures with, to watch frolic in the grass, in the courtyard, but only if we meet or exceed our number of fixes from last year. However, we also have an internal competition divided up, as you can see on this flyer. We have aviation, last year's winners. We have applied technologies, general education, professional studies, manufacturing, hospitality and culinary, and health sciences. And we will be looking at how many fixes each of those areas make in the course of the day. So those numbers will probably be pulled early next week. It takes a while for the system to update by department, but we will be able to know where we stand throughout the day, thanks to the next thing I want to show you, which is the Blackboard Ally Fix Your Content Day leaderboard. Now, don't be dismayed. I know some of these look like crazy numbers, but this is global, which means some of these people are in countries that have already started for their day. So as we go through our day, their numbers will probably drop off as they leave work and whatever, where ours will just be ramping up. So you can see on this leaderboard, and I'm going to go ahead and put this. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. So sorry. I will get that in the chat here momentarily as far as the link so you can check on it yourself. But all you would need to do to find the number of fixes is to show the full list and scroll right on down until you find Wichita State, or WSU Tech. You know who we are. And I might have missed us. But we'll be doing updates throughout the day on this progress. And then you can also, like I said, keep track of it yourself with the link that I'm going to put in the Teams chat momentarily. With that being said, I want to take just a minute before our first interview, which is at 10:30 with the ITAS design team. I want to take a minute to introduce your committee members. Now that we know what we're competing for, which, by the way, if you're the lucky department that wins the day, you will get a lunch with Sherry Utash. So a nice lunch with the president is always a fun time to, talk about the college and have some FaceTime with the prez. So that's the prize for the college or for the departments. And then of course, goats are the prize for the college as a whole. So let me stop sharing this screen real quick. And what I want to do next is to show you the members of the Accessibility Committee who have basically made this all possible. And it's just going to take me 1 second. Oh, hello, Misty Taylor.
Hello.
We just have everybody popping on the Zoom team. So we are streaming, by the way, live from the NCAT ITAS office in the Gateway building up north. So we've got some people who may be joining us throughout the day. And we'll definitely be doing some interviews, but at the moment, I want to introduce you to the esteemed members of our Accessibility Committee, without whom we would not have the kind of accessibility awesomeness that we have all year long. So without further ado, I present to you, and I hope you can see my screen, your Accessibility Committee. First of all, we have Crystal Aluko. She is the Director of Inclusion and Diversity and Equity in the People and Culture Department. And we asked all of the committee members, some of whom did not reply and may have had their statements made up by someone. But we asked everyone, what is the thing they like about goats, being as goats are the theme of our year? And Crystal Aluko says the only thing she likes about goats, well, that's the acronym, greatest of all time. So not a goat fan, but an amazing lady. And she's definitely bringing a different perspective from the staff and student side into our Accessibility Committee. Next, we have this close-up picture of this lovely white goat representing John Davis. That's right, JD, who is faculty for information technology. And according to my sources, JD secretly wants to own 1,000 goats. Next, hi, that's me. That's me and my cat, Viola. She's not a goat, but I didn't have a goat picture, so what can I do? I am your accessibility and course quality specialist here in ITAS, and I find goats that scream or bleat like humans to be utterly hilarious. I cannot stop laughing and will actually start crying because I think it's so funny. Next, we have Matthew Lewis, who's the newest member of our Accessibility Committee, literally joining a month ago. And he is the program director for IT technologies. He once, and this is actually true, I didn't make this up for him. He once won a competition on the radio with T95 for concert tickets to Journey, no less, by chugging goat milk. Never even drank goat milk myself, but Matt can apparently chug it. Next, we have Justin Maples. I think this goat is a perfect representation of my good friend, Justin Maples. It looks so excited, right? He is our faculty from the machining area. And I've also been told that Justin appreciates a mild, creamy goat cheese on Triscuits, when no one is looking. Justin, I'm sure you'll correct me if that's wrong. We also have John Michael. And John Michael is our Director of Culinary Arts and Hospitality, the Educational Research and Development. John Michael, I just picked this goat because I really liked it. I hope you don't mind. However, he can describe goat cheese in more ways than you thought possible. Just think on that one. And then we also have Lexi Michael, who is the department chair and executive chef for the Culinary and Hospitality program. And she says that, I love how when in a herd, they move together. It's kind of like a murmuration, which is when starlings make that crazy weird flock of bird thing in the sky. We also have Jennifer Rowe. She's the department chair for leadership and personal development in the general education area. And she is actually a true goat owner and says that baby bouncing goats are actually the best. So, you can't get closer to the source than that. We have David Salzman, who's a faculty in aviation maintenance, and he feels that goats are far superior to sheep and other bovids. After all, they climb mountains, as you can see his pictures of a mountain goat. I hope he likes it. Trish Schmidt, who is the Dean of Academic Services, enjoys that goats are both cute and practical since they make excellent lawnmowers. I happen to agree and wish I had several to mow my lawn. We also have, representing Gen Ed and the professional studies area, kind of combined, is the lead faculty from our computer sciences. There might be a typo on that slide, sorry. And that is Linda Sessions. She loves watching goats in pajamas dance around on YouTube, and I don't blame her, not one bit. We have Jennifer Stanier, who, if you don't know her, you should. She's our disability services specialist and helps all of our students get the best disability services that we have to offer. And her take on goats is that they are playful, have a great sense of humor, are born to climb, enjoy a challenge, and are so stinking cute. What's not to love? And we have Monica Stewart, who's the director of instructional design team here at ITAS. And she's included a picture to illustrate what she likes about goats, and that is goats in pajamas. So I don't know exactly what this pajama wearing goat has on its head, but it looks like something from a marching band hat. And I'm okay with that too. And we have Misty Taylor, who is an instructional designer from the design team, also with ITAS. And Misty likes their creepy eyes. Last but not least, representing our nursing and health sciences areas, we have Joy Thompson, who's faculty in the PN program. Joy, we picked this goat especially for you because, it has a braid, and you always have a braid. But Joy tells me that she thinks fainting goats in wigs will actually be the next viral TikTok trend. She has it on good authority. And that is all our accessibility committee members. So now you know who you should reach out to. If those names are familiar to you and you have an accessibility question, those are the people you can send an email to say, hey, could you come take a look at this or help me with something? Because that's what the accessibility committee's goal is to do, is to be there to support you in your accessibility endeavors throughout the year. Okay, so we've introduced the competition. We've introduced your accessibility committee members. I'd love to see, is there anybody, Courtney, do we have anybody, any comments in the chat yet?
None so far, Miss Crystal.
Okie dokie. Everybody's still getting their morning coffee. By the way, commencement last night, that was amazing. I hope you all had a good time and everybody's on those post-commencement happy vibes. Great thing to celebrate our students with. And with that, we're going to move right on into using the Ally interface. So this is very important. And the reason why we're hitting off our tutorials during this live stream with the Ally interface is because you have to use it to get fixes to count today towards our competition. Many of you will be familiar with it, but if you're not, I'm going to give you a quick overview of how to utilize it. By the way, if you don't want to dig through your emails to find that link to join the Teams channel, you can also navigate straight to Blackboard. Let me share my screen with you and I'll show you where. You can navigate straight to Blackboard. And this comment on the main page has a link. And if you click that link, then it will send us a request and we can put you in the Teams channel. Don't forget that you can chat with your colleagues. You can throw down some smack. Let the FYCD team know what you and your crew are up to if you're all fixing content together or virtually. And you can ask questions. In fact, if you ask questions, you may get invited to join the live stream in the Zoom room for one-on-one help with those questions during our Q&A sessions, which you can find on the live stream schedule. Hey, Misty, can I ask you a favor? Would you mind putting that lovely link to the Ally leaderboard in the Teams channel, please?
Absolutely.
Thanks. It's very exciting. So when I talk about the Ally interface, what we're talking about is the area that gives you feedback. And I want to find a really good course that's going to offer us plenty of opportunity for feedback. And that would probably be my very messy testing example course. So first thing that you're going to notice when you get into a course, this is only from the instructor perspective. Remember, your students can't see the little Ally meters peppered throughout your course. But as we scroll and we see things like files, we're going to see these meters next to them. Now, these ones have a score of perfect, meaning we fixed everything we need to fix. However, if we scroll long enough, we can find some that are not. If you select this meter, like so, it opens up the Ally interface. That's what this is, this area that gives you instruction on what's wrong with your document or file or content editor text. And then it will also allow you to get a better idea of how to fix or how to add those headings or fix that issue by walking you step through some tutorials. The nice thing about this interface is that once you have fixed the file, you can drag and drop it right here, and that counts as a fix. It changes your Ally meter, so it moves the meter up immediately, and it replaces the old copy with the new. So when we say we're using the Ally interface, that's what we mean. It's best to use this interface in order to make your fixes, not only because it ensures that our fixes count for the competition, but because it allows you to see everything that's wrong with that item. Let's say that I had a PowerPoint presentation that I knew for a fact I forgot to put alt text in. If I look at my Ally meter, it would show me not only if I have alt text missing, but if there are any other things I need to fix. So it's always good to check with Ally, see what's wrong, and then fix everything all at once. But what I want to show you today is the newest, and we're going to get into this a little bit more in depth later in the day, but the newest way that you can interact with content you have built in Blackboard. I mean, things like when you've put in text instructions or pictures or lists into your content editor of an item or a test. We call that the WYSIWYG editor or the content editor. And in order to interact with the interface for that, you actually have to go edit or open up that content like you were creating it. And then you'll see your interface off to the right at the top. Now, I don't want to go into great depth about that particular item because we're going to talk a lot more about this a little bit later. But just like any of the interfaces, once you open it up, it's going to show you anything that's wrong with that particular area. You can select the All Issues button. You can find this anytime the interface opens if whatever you're looking at has more than one issue. And then it will show you all of the things that need fixing. And you can click on any of those in order to get that guidance. If you unselect all issues, then it goes back to your main interface panel. So let's get out of that. I want to show you another way that you can find those interfaces in documents in case you have a really big course And, there's modules and maybe, things within modules. It might be easiest for you to use your course report, your Ally accessibility report. But if you know for a fact that you're looking for one particular file, you can also go to your content collection. And when you open that up, now this is a mess, mind you, it's because this is my Fix It and Break It course. But you can see any of the files that Ally is reading. So if you know the name of the file you're specifically looking for, this could be easier than trying to find it in your course report. And you can also select any of the meters that are showing here. So I can see, like, if I knew that my chapter 1 presentation is what I wanted to fix, I could also find it in my content collection, and it would do the same. It would open up this exact same interface. With that being said, we're going to, in the next hour, we're going to talk about the Ally course report tutorial. And so we'll look at like a deep dive into the Ally course report, which is individual rather than the big overall report that was all we used to have. However, I wanted to give you a heads up before we get there that if you are working in your courses today and you do not see a button that says accessibility report, you can put in a ticket to ITAS asking to have that report tool button added to whatever course you're working in. Now, if it's a live course, they should all have this. However, you might be working in a master or a template that does not have that. And all you would need to do is send in the exact number of the master or the template, and we can add that tool button for you. And you'll see why that can make your life so easy coming up in our next tutorial next hour. So let's real quick take a look at the Teams channel and see what's going down over there. I want to show you a couple of things about the Teams channel that has some documents that you may want to look through. So let me minimize that and open up our Teams. So first of all, if you think that you have asked to be on this Teams channel, and everyone who was around this time last year should already be on the Teams channel, and you cannot find it, you may have to scroll a bit down to the area of your Teams that, and I'll go ahead and do this. I'm going to hide this. So if it's not showing up where you normally see all of your teams, you may have to scroll down to an area that says hidden teams. This would be after all of your active teams. And when you select it, oh, there's my hidden channel. Then you can select the 3 dots, the more options menu next to fix your content, and select show, which is the first option in the dropdown. After that, it should go ahead and put that Teams channel right up at the top. And you can see our general thread with links to all of the things you might need. Here's your link to the live stream if you haven't joined that yet. And then also, if you scroll back a bit, you can see information about the prizes for this event today, which, if you're joining the live stream, we are going to have a scavenger hunt. And at the end of every hour, we will have a question, a scavenger hunt, or goat hunt, as I like to call it, question. Those will be things that you may have to search the internet for to find answers to. And then you will send those answers in an email to kisaminger@wsutech.edu. That's me. If you can't remember that, you can send it to ITAS too. They'll make sure it gets my way. But you will have to have answered or completed all of the tasks in that for all 4 questions. If you do, you get entered into a drawing to win 2 25 Amazon gift cards and 3 $10 Starbucks gift cards. So you have 5 chances to win if you participate in the scavenger hunt. You can also find the link to the Accessibility at WSU Tech YouTube channel. This is a channel dedicated strictly to accessibility at WSU Tech. And over the course of the next year, we're hoping to make this channel a bit more lively, have live streams on a more frequent basis, and touch base with the accessibility work that our committee members and departments are doing throughout the year. So please you can select and you can subscribe and find out everything you need to know about accessibility there. If you wanted to go back and watch any of the videos that we've put out, if you missed us talking about what Fix Your Content Day is, you can always find those videos either here in the Teams channel. They also live on the Accessibility YouTube channel. So it is 10:24 and we are coming up on our very first set of interviews with the design team. Courtney, anything happening in the YouTube channel at the moment?
No, ma'am. I did put a
Awesome.
link to the Fix Your Content Day Teams channel.
Oh, sweet. Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, so if you aren't in the Teams channel, but you do join the live stream, you can participate in both areas just by using that link. I do have one short thing I want to show you for, just to get the day kind of rolling. So one moment while I switch sharing and pull up a little something that I think you all might enjoy. So in honor of, what's going on today and all of the fun that we are going to have, it might be too much for you to handle. So I have prepared for you this absolutely lovely compilation of fainting goats. So while we get prepared for our first interview, let me just share that with you and hope that Facebook doesn't kick us out. This next part's my favorite part of this time to shine. Gonna do the two-step and cowboy boogie. Grab a sweetheart and spin out with 'em. Do the hold down and get into it. Run.
Acted. Or was I?
Well, just in case you needed a good laugh this morning, that was some fabulous fainting goats on TikTok. I highly recommend that you check out hashtag fainting goats on TikTok or any social media you may be on, because you will laugh a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and pause my live stream, shut down my mute, and we're going to mosey on over and get this interview started with the design team here at ITAS.
Hi.
I have with me today Misty Taylor and Diana Holiday, who are two of the members of our design team. They are our instructional designers, and I work very closely with them in course quality and accessibility. And I know for a fact that Diana was doing accessibility before I was even at WSU Tech, because the very first images and hyperlinks training was developed by her and I believe Ron, or was it Strap? Or just you? I can't remember. I wasn't here, so I didn't know. And so yeah, we've she's been here for the entire accessibility journey. And then we have Misty Taylor, whose third anniversary with WSU Tech is tomorrow. So everybody out there, wish Misty Taylor a happy work anniversary tomorrow. And 3 years ago when she joined us, we were just in the thick of our first third-year accessibility plan and starting to roll into our second. And so all of us have learned accessibility along with the rest of the college. And it's been kind of just an interesting journey to find out how that applies to design and the work that they do. And so this is certainly not a formal interview. We are like family, and this is the office we live in. You've got puzzles and flowers and whatnot. So this is just kind of like family dinner talking about accessibility because we do work with it every day. So I guess what I would like to ask both of you ladies to answer in whichever way you like is how does accessibility fall into your design process? I know you've been doing a lot of like kind of fine tuning your design processes in the last year. And so I was wondering where accessibility falls in that.
For me, with my background in K-12 and having to make in my world, then it was accommodations, but it really was accessibility. So that just naturally flowed into how I approach instructional design. The one thing though that has been a skill set flex was actually taking time to, structure a document in headings and text and paragraphs, adding alt text to images. That didn't necessarily cross my vision or my view, but it's much more now. And it's kind of interesting because as we go through course design and working with other instructors, the discussion of, well, you can't have a blind nurse, you can't have a hearing impaired pilot or something like that. But one of the things that helped me with that conversation from my previous life was I understand that, right? You may not do that particular function as your career or profession, but if I, who have any sort of disabilities, want to learn that material, I should have the opportunity to learn it. So that has kind of been not only through design, but also how to influence the culture. Mm-hmm. And when you present it like that, I think people begin to understand, oh, okay. Often I've heard yeah, I get it. Like, I'll do it because it's the right thing to do.
Right. Missy, do you have anything you want to add to that question?
So a couple of things. First thing, my first introduction to accessibility was when I read the job description for the coordinator job for ITAS, and it said to be familiar with accessibility. And I asked my Emporia State University mentor, what does that mean? And he kind of filled me in, and he was like, it'll be exciting because WSU Tech puts on this awesome summer camp conference. And little did I know that I would be part of running that soon. And so the last 3 years have really opened my eyes to accessibility practices, even just in my personal life now. I don't ever type or right click something, select something. It's even gone into my boyfriend's life, just become practices that we do every day. Also, just kind of jumping off of Diana's, I've also heard faculty say a lot, we're never going to have a blind pilot or something like that going through those courses. But it's been very interesting to hear from the instructors of INF program and to kind of see what's been going on in the background with making sure all of those documents are accessible for their blind student now. And it's, it might be just kind of this, oh yeah, we're doing all this accessibility work, but we don't have a student right now that needs it. But then when you do, it's a lot of work to try to do in a very short amount of time. So just staying on top of it and start incorporating those little practices really goes a long way.
Well, I think that talking about that, the Ally alternate format has been a huge game changer because it's usable for all of us. And when we talk about that with instructors, that students can access information, like listen to a PDF with a screen reader, or, I'm guilty of this at night, her husband's over there and I'm still trying to unwind. If I'm watching a video, I read the captions.
Yeah.
However, I do have to say I've become a little bit of a snob because I giggle inwardly whenever I see. That's not the right word. That's not what that really meant.
Yeah.
Caption errors, aren't they fun?
Yeah. So, and it's kind of when we go back and actually think about where this all started, escalators, stairs, curb cutouts, benefit all of us, not just those who need it.
Right. Well, and if you think about, I don't know, you have contacts, you have glasses, I have glasses. I can't see the monitor lettering without these on, and that's, just 10 feet away. But once upon a time, these were considered impossible. These were actually considered accommodations, right? If we were to compare it to that, the glasses, the contacts, the things we wear on our faces, we would be considered, I'm vision impaired without my glasses. And now, I'm not saying that to negate what the disability community, what that the BVI community goes through. But if you want to relate to something, imagine when you broke your foot, because not all disabilities are permanent. Some are temporary. And so it's an interesting concept, as you were mentioning, Misty, with the what we do in advance allows us to then focus less of our attention on, can this person access the documents? But I don't want to give stuff away because I know we have a pre-recorded interview with INF coming later. But finding those things that that are maybe like the physical space, the actual like tangible lab element challenges. And I think one of the things about what that program is discovering is that there are challenges we don't have answers to yet, but there are people out there trying to find those answers. And if somebody figured out how to make these because they said, I don't want to not be able to see anymore, how long is it in the world that we live in today where somebody is going to figure out ways for people to do those things that we now think are impossible for them to do? And we're going to be ready to be like, and we have the curriculum for you.
Yeah,
it's all ready. Sorry, soapbox and passionate moment. I love discussing this stuff with you ladies. But I think one of the things I really wanted to hit on today for sure is obviously we are practicing a proactive approach when it comes to design. And I know that when you all design from scratch, like brand new programs, things that have never been touched before, that's something baked in that you bring up, like you were saying to the instructors, we have to make sure we follow these rules. But like, how do you approach in like a redesign? Like, what is your approach to find not only like your esoteric theoretical approach, but like your actual approach to, here's a course, Diana, redesign it. Where does accessibility fall into your plan there, or Misty?
Yeah.
Well, let's back up and explain. Like a redesign would mean that the course has been populated with content.
Mhm.
So then what we as designers do is go through that content. I automatically go to the ally meter, or now the little rainbow, I'll just call it the rainbow, on the content editor page, and take a look at that. If it's not within our parameters and we're shooting for 100%, but if it's not at least in the high 80s, low 90s, I focus in on that. In a way, though, I also look at it with a teacher lens and the student lens and think, if I were a student and it's 3:00 in the morning and I'm trying to work on this, what kind of information do I need? How much information do I need? And what would be the easiest way to interact or access that information? And so, often somebody, when I have my fingers in it, I think people probably have seen my stuff now and they're like, that's a lot of words and bullet points. Yeah, it is, because at 3:00 in the morning, I could probably call you if you were my instructor. You may not like that.
Probably not.
Yeah. And so, to me, that's another way of creating accessibility,
Mhm.
more accessibility / usability.
Right, you get into that kind of fine line between the two, where it's like in our core standards, it's considered a navigation thing, clear instructions, interaction, directions, things like that. But that also plays a part, again, in that accessibility, because you have to also consider what is being seen from the student perspective. If somebody's navigating via keyboard, what kind of information do they need? But how do we make it not so overwhelming that a sighted user who isn't navigating by keyboard doesn't get bogged down, or maybe somebody who doesn't have maybe has cognitive processing and all that text could weigh them down. And I think that's interesting that you bring up. It's like we have to try to find that balance of what's just enough. Where's the Goldilocks moment between all those things in design?
Yeah.
I could see in your face what you wanted to say.
I've always got things I want to say. For me, in my design process, I've learned through trial and error to leave accessibility towards the end. Just because I don't know how many times I've gone in gung-ho and I'm going to make those meters green. And it's, it's kind of, I love video games. I'm not really a competitive person, but I love video games. So it's kind of that little good feeling moment when I see that go up to 100% or even 90%. But I don't know how many times that I have gone in and worked diligently on a document and learned so much. That's how I learn about accessibility, is just getting in there and doing it. And thankfully I share an office with you. So I can be like, Crystal, you come over and help me. But I don't know how many times I've done that and it's gotten up to 100% and I'm like, yay. And then the instructor's like, oh, actually, we're not going to use that. Or the publisher has a new one that we're going to use. And so I leave it to the end. I make sure we're going to use it. I make sure it's where it needs to be. And then I work on it at the end. And so it's kind of like my cherry on top of the design.
So something I want to point out is, I know that we might have a lot of faculty tuning in and they're like, what? We're interviewing the designers, but faculty are designers of their courses as well, especially if they're not going through a major redesign, if they're not redoing a master. These types of things, that the insight that you all have as designers can also help faculty over the summer as they're looking at their courses and thinking, man, I need to make some improvements. Oh, we just got a brand new publisher. That's so important because it is frustrating. Faculty's time is, all of our time is precious. Time is something we have to balance, and especially in the summer or on breaks, we want to make sure that our courses are ready to go in the fall, but we also want to have time with our family and go on vacation. So I think that idea of how to work efficiently towards accessibility is something that, since you all deal with it every single day, because you're designing courses every single day, it's such a great perspective to share with our faculty. And so kind of to that end, I'd like to know what your what you see when you're in these courses, because you are building them out, but you're also redesigning, and I know that you are poking in here and there and helping
Right.
people too. What are like the most common or like the biggest errors that you see, either from like common and little
Mhm.
or like uncommon, but who smokes, that meter's red?
I would say the 3 top ones for me, which 2 of them are so easy to fix, is the title, the PDF title, and the alt text image. But the one that I still have a hard time are tables, especially in PDF, the table heading, the tags and I look at that and my brain just goes mush.
If we had like the sound effect for the ring, that would be playing right now, because I even follow a PDF,
Right.
an accessibility PDF remediation group on Facebook, you know, in my free time. And that's like when somebody drops the table question, everybody's like, oh, who's gonna take it? Who's gonna take it?
I just avoid tables now if I can. If I can get around it, I
highly
just
recommend
don't.
avoiding tables if at all possible, but you're right. That's one that we could train and train and train.
Yeah.
And getting a PDF table, especially a complex one,
Mhm.
if it's like simple, that's okay.
Right.
But if you've got any like combined or blank or merged cells,
Ooh,
it
yeah.
becomes an absolute nightmare. It's like
The designer's
Tetris gone
nightmare.
wrong. What about you, Diana? What are the ones that you notice all the time?
I don't know. I kind of echo what Misty said. However, as you're talking about tables, I'm kind of proud that I've figured out enough, like when you're doing PDFs and look at the reading order,
Mhm.
and then when you get to the table, and I don't know how many times I've read, reread, watched YouTube's videos, all that to figure out just the bit I know. But when you go to the reading order and you click that table editor, and now I know what the red cell means and the blue, and I'm like, ooh, I can fix this.
It is exciting. And for those of you at home who are dying to learn to tag PDF tables, you can use the college's LinkedIn subscription and find all the PDF remediation information you want.
Mhm.
If you want to go down that rabbit hole, I invite you to do so and enjoy it. But it is one of those that we use PDFs for a very particular reason, a couple of very particular reasons in our courses. But that is one of the pushes and one of the biggest conversations in the accessibility community is, why do we still use PDFs when it's so hard for people to fix them and to fix them right?
Yeah.
Because I know I've seen PDFs, not here, but I've attended some workshops where they were showing example PDFs that people thought they knew how to fix them
Mhm.
and like tried to fix them and ended up making them even worse than when they got them.
Right.
And it's like, it's just so dicey. So I mean, that's a question that I believe is in accessibility summer camp. One of our sessions is a throwdown battle on why PDFs are no longer good for academia.
Mhm.
So you might want to register for accessibility summer camp.
Shameless plug.
Right.
Shameless plug, possibly scavenger hunt question. But anyway, I'm sorry, I got off track.
Well,
Yeah.
going back
I don't remember
to
the next question I was going to ask.
well, going back to that
Mhm.
that point, one of the things that and this goes against probably everything in the accessibility community, but yet in my world, my mind, it is an accessibility issue, because when I use PDF in Blackboard, it automatically opens that file. If I use PowerPoint, Word, or something like that, it downloads, which means if I'm dealing with a user who does not feel comfortable with technology, then I have, if I were that user, I have to figure out, where is it? How do I get it? How do I know I'm not downloading some malware or something like that? But I also understand, if you don't really understand the process of remediating PDFs, it gets ugly.
Right. Right, and so there, there's some interesting solutions to that I could posit, but I won't, because that is a conversation for another day. Yeah, we could totally go on a deep dive roller coaster, but you're right, there are pros and cons to both, and especially the way that we use it here at WSU Tech. Many of the colleges who are thinking of as the anti-PDF camp don't use modules the way that we do. And so everything that they put in as a file is basically going to download that way. So it doesn't make any difference to them. So we actually, whenever this conversation happens at a conference that I'm at, and I bring up our test case, our case scenario, people are like, you do what? So it is more user-friendly for the person to be able to have that document open right up and be able to read it if the document is good.
Yeah.
So it's not something that's going to go away, I don't think, in our world anytime soon. But what concessions can we make? What compromises can we make? That's a question that probably the accessibility committee needs to ask in the next year. I should write that down somewhere. So the other question that I wanted to ask you, and I know I'm putting you kind of on the spot, but I know you both have been involved in Accessibility Summer Camp, both have been involved in Fix Your Content Days, and you've either been through, seen, or helped with all of the online trainings. What do you think is like the base number one thing for an instructor fresh from the new hire with HR that walks in the door? Like, what is the number one thing you think that instructor needs to know about accessibility? Like practically, like if you had to give them one thing to take off with them into working with their coursework, what would be the thing that you would tell them to?
I think using heading styles and layout. I'm thinking of Word, kind of the heading styles, and then with PowerPoint's the layout, that's not only useful for accessibility purposes, but just the navigation pane in Word. If you have a big document, just being able to collapse and uncollapse those items. And I mean, alt text is like a very close second to me, but I just feel like with like a screen reader, the order of your content is very important. Otherwise, it's not going to make any sense.
Yes,
yeah,
I would agree with you on that. What about you, Diana?
Misty, you keep stealing my ideas. No, that just means we're on the same page.
Exactly.
I would completely agree with that. And again, just add my little 3 o'clock in the morning scenario. It's interesting, as you were talking and, posing your question, yesterday I listened to a webinar, and it for Global Accessibility Day. The facilitator and the speaker were brothers, and one brother is completely blind, and he was talking about interfacing with websites and demonstrating how he interacts with a screen reader. I think, is it NVDA? Yeah. And like it was fun. I mean, it blew my mind as I was sitting over there going, it's to that point, it's just a good reminder, because the whole purpose is we take a lot of things for granted, and we need to be mindful of those people who may not have the same either skills, abilities, or physical attributes. And that was the purpose of the webinar.
Yeah.
So I don't know, it just, every so often we just have to be reminded. And and this comes from my own experience. Until we started talking about accessibility, it never occurred to me how unaccessible the web is. Never thought of it until I started researching for a session I was presenting on the legalities of accessibility at our second summer camp. I'm sighted. everything is based on cited users. And until that,
Right, until we have developers who are developing and have all the stakeholders involved
right,
to make those developments. And I think that's, some places are doing it really well, others are not. And I think what we also have to understand is that this is a moving target.
right,
As I know you ladies find out with like some of the third-party integrations and the publisher things, and you're still trying to use this educational technology that makes our classes engaging and wonderful, and yet still having to consider that accessibility and where do we, draw the line and say, we can't use your stuff because it's not accessible, or how can we work around to give an equal interactive experience? And those are hard questions, and not all of them have answers yet.
right.
But we're trying, and we're learning what the biggest challenges are, because if we can't identify those, then we can't use the brilliant minds of the manufacturers and the aviation maintenance people and the information technology instructors and the engineers at WSU to innovate solutions that solve those problems,
Right.
like somebody innovated classes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was interesting. This particular individual was talking about interacting with like bank,
Mm,
the banking
Mhm.
website, and things he was talking about I never would have thought of because
mhm,
it's all cited. And then he was talking about, like, for example, Amazon
mhm.
ordering things, and he's like, something I want people to think about is those descriptive pieces, the text, and also very much the text on like quantity.
Oh, right.
Because he said, yeah, I often order things. They show up to the house and it's really not what I wanted.
No.
Or I order 4 of something that I only wanted 1 of.
That would be so frustrating. So
Yeah.
frustrating.
When wasn't it Domino's Pizza that was sued not that long
Yeah.
or a couple years ago because they didn't have their ordering system set up
Yep.
acceptably? So
Yeah.
it's definitely
It's moving
becoming,
into the
yeah,
public sphere,
yes.
and it's already been in education.
Yeah.
And now it's starting to go into, the private corporations and other public entities. So.
Yeah.
Well, ladies, that's what we have time for, because I have to get back to the other part of the studio.
Well,
And I just want to thank you so much for being here and
Yeah.
for talking accessibility with us. Everybody out there, give a big hand clap woo, woo, to our design team and all the hard work they do throughout the year to help our instructors have the best courses for our students.
well, thanks for letting us have a platform.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. They're going to be fixing stuff today too, so hopefully we'll be seeing our numbers go up now that I have released them back to their cubicles to make all the crazy fixes. And just going to take a second to swap back into the other area, and I'll be right back with you with our first goat hunt scavenger question.
Yay!
All right, thank you for holding up with that quick break here that we took, and we are back. We are back to streaming, and we are going to end this hour and then take a quick 5-minute grab your beverage, go to the bathroom, whatever break. But before we do that, I want to check in with Courtney Johnson and find out if we have any comments in the YouTube chat or in the Teams channel chat.
Absolutely. We have a lot of love for our design team.
Woo!
They
Woo!
are appreciated for everything they do.
They are amazing. It's true. Do we know of any instructors who are out there hanging out with us today?
We've got Miss Linda. She has been with us. She's been
Woo!
commenting. And Miss Courtney Green as well.
Awesome. Linda and Courtney. Well, Jeanette's obviously up and around early these days. So welcome, ladies. Glad to have you here. Courtney, I think that even though our theme is goats, you might have to put a little picture of little Miss Emily in the Teams channel later, just to give us all that baby picture fix. Because that's one cute baby. Okay, so do we have any questions in the chat other than comments?
No questions that I'm seeing, but if you do have any questions, please post them and I will read them here.
Absolutely. All right, so that's going to bring us to our score check, which, go figure. I would have shut that website down. 1 second, please. Get back into here. We'll check the leaderboard. I'm going to share my screen. All right, so, well, this is interesting. Total fixes around the world are 45,845. We have 18 hours, 58 minutes, and 43 seconds until the end of Fix Your Content Day. And we're going to show the full list here. And I believe we were sitting around, ooh, we have moved up to 39 with 95 fixes so far. And we've only been at this for about an hour, y'all. So keep up the strong work. That is amazing. Thank you for being here for this first hour. And now for your goat hunt question. And I will put this in the Teams channel as well to make it easy for you to copy and paste. Let me stop sharing my screen though. Your first goat hunt question. And as you may remember from the conversation we were just having, that this whole event, Fix Your Content Day, is based around Global Accessibility Awareness Day, which was started by two people, and they made it a global day to celebrate accessibility awareness. And the focus was primarily on like web design and that type of things. But then it's been adopted by various other facets from industry to academia and used as a rallying point. So your question, and I'm trying to pull up the right document, sorry, way too many links today. Your question number 1 is, in what year was Global Accessibility Awareness Day started? And I'm putting that in the chat right now. Goat hunt. Question 1. I can't spell question. That's okay. I'm only an English teacher. Okay, that is your first question. To end this hour, we're actually a little over the hour, and that is a-okay. We're going to take a quick 5-minute break. We'll be back with a short tutorial on the Ally course report in your courses. Remember, if you're working in a master and you don't have that yet, you can put in a ticket to have that button added. And in the meantime, go get a drink, take a break, grab some food, smooch your baby or fur baby, and we'll see you back in about 3 to 5 minutes.
Crystal, we have one question from
You have a
Linda.
question?
We
Okay, I can
do.
take that question.
She's asking, do we write the question to the, or do we write the answer to the question in the comments, or do we hold on to that?
Oh, that is a fine question. Do not put the answer in the comments because you want to not give everyone else the answer. So what I would do is I would hold on to all of the questions, put them in an email, and once you have them all answered at the end of the day, send them off to me or to ITAS. You can just title it Scavenger Hunt. I guarantee Courtney and Jacob will know when they come in what they are for. But yeah, put those in an email with the answers to me. Don't put them here in the chat. Thank you for that question, Linda. I appreciate that. And again, there will be 4 questions at the top of every hour until the end of the day at 2. And then the winners will be drawn from all those who got them correct. And we have 2 $25 Amazon gift cards up for grabs and 3 $10 Starbucks gift cards. So keep on tuning in. We'll be right back. Pardon me. All right, everybody. Hey, welcome back. We are about 11:12, and we have our next interview with John Michael and Chef Chadwick Isom from Culinary coming in at 11:30, and we're going to talk about all of the experiences they've had in working with the BVI community, but I'm going to let them say more about that. I would like to say that we do have live transcription through Zoom, but you cannot turn that off in the live YouTube stream. So I want to make sure that it's not bothering anyone. I'm going to leave it on unless somebody out there says it is bothering them, and then I will make sure that we turn it off. If we need to turn off the live transcription and you would like it, we can also let you into the Zoom room so you can take advantage of that individually yourself, if that's an absolute necessary situation. So just put a comment in the YouTube stream or in the Teams channel if the captioning is bothering you. Okay, so with that, we are going to talk about the Ally Course Report. And I am going to share my screen with you again. Perhaps. One second. Okay, here we go. So we're going to get back into our Blackboard course. And when I talk about the accessibility report for your course, I'm talking about what this little black button takes you to. When we select that navigation button from the left-hand side that says accessibility report, we come to a course-specific version of what you would see if we looked at the institutional Ally report, what I see when I give numbers to ALT and report on accessibility for the college. So the first thing that you're going to notice is this meter in the top left gives you your course accessibility score. So let's talk about what this score is based on. It is based on all of the things, an average of all of the things that Ally is scoring in your course. So that's, as you can see in front of you, the course content, which is broken down rather handily in this pie chart, but also in a list form over here where it talks about LTI launches, PDFs, items, external links, images, folders, all of these items that Ally is screening, looking for content editor text or files or images or videos. So we can see the overview, we can see our files are broken down, and then we have this area that's content with the easiest issues to fix. It says there are 4 in my course, and if I select start, it's going to show me the easy fix items. So let's jump into one of them. Let's say this MLA research paper, and it says this document does not have headings. Now this is a Word doc. It's one that we give to students so that they have an example they can utilize. So we wanted it to maintain its Word doc status rather than making it a PDF so it's editable for them. But this means that I would need to fix that Word document, add headings, and then upload it again to move my meter. I can also take a look at any of the other items. For instance, this PowerPoint contains text with insufficient contrast. So that's one way to find pretty easy fixes that you can make. If you have medium or really low scoring content, there's going to be another module on this dashboard that shows you like your medium scoring content. So if I select start here, I can then see items that maybe have harder things to fix. Let's select this PowerPoint of key terms that's at 39%. First of all, it says the PDF has images that are missing a description. Also note it's going to show me, it's going to highlight where those images are. And I can even move up and down through those images to find everything that is an issue. I can also select all issues, and it's going to tell me this PDF does not have headings either, which is a pretty big one. And when I select that issue, then it opens up how to add headings to a PDF so I can get that information. So that's kind of how to use the interface, which we talked about in the previous tutorial. But the other ways that you can utilize this tool to help you understand what's in your course and to find those items, like we talked about in the Fix Your Content Day videos that work around your plan and your time, is to come down to this issues area. And this actually breaks it out into different issues. So if you know that you've only got a few minutes, maybe an hour on your hands, and you want to fix a couple of things, you might come down here and look for issues like the HTML content contains images without a description. That's literally just an image that you put in the text editor that you can go in and add alt text to. Now there's only one of these, so it'd be really easy to fix, and then that would be completely out of our remaining issues area. I can also look at something easy like the HTML content has empty headings. Again, in those HTML contents, when you open up those text editors, you're going to have very specific instruction that will help you figure out what to do. And many times that instruction, as we'll see this afternoon, actually allows you to fix multiple things at one time. So you can also kind of gauge items in this form by severity. So you can actually filter by severity up and down. A yellow flag is like a warning. The major ones are denoted by the orange triangle with an exclamation point. And then I believe it's like a red circle or something for the really, really severe ones. And so that's one way that you can see what remaining issues you have. If you select an issue, it's going to open up again all of those items that have that issue so that you can go in and you can fix them using the interface.
Hi, Crystal.
Oh, yeah. Hi.
Just 1 second before we get too far, we have a question or a comment in the chat.
Okay.
It says, I have some of those in my class, but it actually documents the students need to go in and modify for an assignment. I can't change my score on those.
Can't change. Okay. Who is this coming from, may I ask?
This is coming from Linda.
Linda. Hi, Linda. So you have some documents that students need to get in there to fix, but when you say that you can't change your score on them, do you mean that like you can't change anything about the document in order to change your score, or you're just not sure what you can change to change that score? And by the way, everyone, just so you know, there's like a 10-second delay. So if we sit here waiting for a moment, it's probably because you haven't had a chance to comment back. And Courtney, are you seeing this in the Teams channel or is this in the YouTube feed?
This is in the YouTube feed, Crystal.
Gotcha, thank you. Just the students are to go in and add heading and modify. Oh, I get what you're saying, Linda Sessions. The students are supposed to go in and add the headings and modify the documents to show that they know how to do those skills. Well, in that case, you absolutely cannot fix those items because the students need to have them that way. And that is, it's one of those things that we will have to understand, which is why we never expect that a course will be 100%, because there are always little things like that that are going to pop up that maybe have to stay away for a certain purpose. I think it's, first of all, I just want to say that's amazing that you're teaching students how to do this skill. because it really will benefit them. It's something they can put on their resume to say, yeah, I know how to make documents accessible, and companies are looking for that. So thank you for doing that for your students. And yeah, that, that's something where if you ever had somebody say, well, why do you still have some documents that are 75%? It's because they're learning tools. It's like, why do I have an entire course that has documents and WYSIWYG editors? It's for exactly things like this when I have to do training. Yes, does it bring our score down? Yeah, but nominally. I mean, marginally compared to the rest of everything else that we do. And so I would say not to worry about those, but I really love that you asked that question because it does bring to light something very cool that you're doing. And I hope that that answers it for you. And if not, put your answer in the chat or any more questions you have in the chat, and we can certainly come back to it after the tutorial or during the tutorial or after the interview. I do want to pop back in though to that instructor report and just cover a few more things before we get ready to interview our guests from culinary and hospitality. And the area that I wanted to show you next is going to be this content tab. Again, that's up in the left-hand corner underneath your overview whole course accessibility score. And what this content tab does is that it breaks it down by, it just shows every piece of content that Ally is reading a score from, even the things that are 100%. And it shows you in order of like lowest to highest, but you can filter that. And so if I select score and it moves the arrow down to where it shows 100% items first. And then at the bottom of my screen, it shows me how many pages of items that I have. I have a lot in this course because I test a lot of things in here. And I can scroll from page to page. I can look at all of my documents and I can see whether it's a PDF, whether it's an image, whether it's a Word document, or whether it is something like an item, a external link. And those items, that's going to be where a lot of your HTML or those text editor issues live. So that's just yet another way that you can get in your course and see what is missing, what are the types of things that you are struggling with the most. So let me go back in here and check. Did Linda have a response, Courtney?
No, you got her.
Okay, fantastic. Do we have any other questions from anyone out there about the course report tool, or even any comments on how you've used it in your course? I would love to hear how some of you are utilizing that when you prep your classes or if you're working in a master. While we're waiting for that, in case anybody wants to share, I'm going to pop on over here and refresh our scoreboard, our leaderboard, and see where we are hanging out at. I have to say, by the way, that there is a friendly rivalry between us and Cowley. And apparently Shelby from Cowley told his faculty that we beat them last year and intended to do so again. And he said they all got up in arms and were ready to take us down, but oh snap. Apparently Cowley is in 16th place at 348 fixes, and we are in 39th with 115. So WSU Tech, our pride is on the line. We cannot let Cowley beat us. I will never hear the end of it. And I will have to buy drinks for Shelby and Eddie. And I just can't do that. So keep making those fixes. We'll get there eventually. I know we will. We did it last year. We'll do it again this year. If there are no other comments or questions in the chat, Courtney, then I'm going to go ahead and go silent and switch over to my interview chair.
You are good to go, Crystal.
Awesome. See you guys in just a few minutes as we get ready to interview Chef Chadwick Isom and John Michael from Culinary. Hello, gentlemen. Welcome to the ITAS office. Before I start piling questions on you, would you please both take a moment to introduce yourselves and tell our viewers out there what you do here for the college?
So I'm John Michael. I'm Director of Culinary Arts and Hospitality. I get to do a lot of like kind of the big picture stuff when it comes to the program, building out niche, working with the architects, working with Courtney and Foundation on naming rights opportunities, and then eventually operating the restaurant and the event center.
Wow, that's a lot. And
I'm Chef Chadwick Isom, and I am the teaching faculty. And I work directly with students and teach a lot of the culinary classes. Yeah.
Specifically the classes for the blind and visually impaired students.
Yes. So actually, I would love to kind of start there because I don't know that everyone in the college even knows that we have this going on. I mean, I know many people do, but just can you kind of clarify what our partnership is with Envision, what that looks like, and what your plans are? I know that's like a lot to clarify. So just speak to that however you would like.
So I think I'll get started on that. Yes, Chef can talk to the actual kind of like hands-on, like what he's doing with the students and things like that. I can talk to kind of the bigger picture. So we've been having conversations, particularly I've been having conversations with Envision for years now. It might even be up to like 5 years since we first started having these conversations.
It is. You told me 5 years ago.
Of having, professional classes for blind and visually impaired students. And we weren't sure at first exactly what that was going to look like. In fact, at first we weren't even sure that it was necessarily going to be professional classes. And the more research we did, and as Chef Chadwick and I kind of traveled around the country a bit and visited other schools and saw what they were doing, we really realized that there is just this massive white space when it comes to the culinary education of individuals who are blind and visually impaired. That you have people who are blind, there's fully blind chefs and cooks out there working. And then at the other end of the spectrum, you have people trying to teach cooking skills. And I'm not going to say culinary arts at this point because they're really teaching basic cooking skills to individuals who are either blind or visually impaired. What you don't have is real like culinary arts instructors focusing their experience and talents on teaching individuals who are blind and visually impaired how to really be like a culinary professional. So there's that kind of missing bit. It's like people have done it and people are teaching something, but they're not really teaching what it takes to get there. So that missing link is taking like a great culinary arts instructor, having them do some work, work with teachers for the visually impaired and work with blind and visually impaired students, but teach them as you would teach professional culinary arts, not just basic cooking skills. So that's really what we're looking to do.
I happen to know about this because we've talked about this, but every time that you talk about it, I get all excited again.
It's groundbreaking stuff. No one is doing this.
Right,
So it's really amazing.
So exciting about it. And like, I remember, Chef Chadwick, when you were talking about, having kind of your first cohort and even just trying to like figure out, what were the assessments going to be? How were you going to assess? And I know that's kind of the end of the process, because before you even got to that point, you guys have done a lot of work in learning how to teach and how people are teaching blind and visually impaired students. So can you kind of talk to that, what that looks like from that practical hands-on perspective?
Sure, I can. It's a different process, but what we really found is that when we just apply the same principles of culinary arts and just teach those skills, we don't have to deviate a lot from that. There's some assisted technologies, and also I've found when working with the blind and visually impaired is we really rely on a bunch of other senses as well. When you grab fresh herbs, that's basil. This is that, maybe not visually identification, but you can tell what it smells like. And when you put something in a pan, the sound it makes, is that pan too hot? Is it not hot enough? We talk about those sorts of things, and their senses, as far as the other senses go, are more highly attuned. Yeah.
That's amazing. So as I do hail from a department that loves our technology. Could you talk to me about some of the different assistive technologies that you find in teaching these students?
So there's a wide variety of different things that you can use, and some of them are better than others.
Okay.
And some of it's really basic stuff.
Yeah, some of it's really basic stuff. There's some talking thermometers and scales and different devices like that you can buy. But the most useful ones I find are like an iPad or an iPhone, and where they can read labels, they can magnify things, they can read the recipe to them. Those type of devices that they're already fluent with, it's the main interface that we're going to use with them.
Yeah.
One of the amazing things you see them do this, they'll just take like an iPad and take a picture of a recipe, and they'll have it read it to them like way faster than double speed. Oh. And like you and I wouldn't be able to understand because it's so fast, but they're so used to doing that it can say it faster than you and I could even read. I mean, it's really kind of incredible watching that. And then there's just real, like a lot of it's real low tech stuff, like bump dots, like a huge thing. And it's just literally just these dots that you say, you put them on a dial on an oven so that they can just feel like, okay, that's where low is, that's where medium is, that's where high is. And puff paint, just using puff paint so that they can just feel. And a lot of the things that we think about when it comes to the blind and visually impaired, or individuals who are blind and visually impaired is the correct nomenclature now, is, we think Braille and we think guide dogs and, and a lot of that stuff really isn't the case so much anymore. It really is. A lot of the time they're doing just so much with their iPads and iPhones and things like that.
But I think there are so many apps. I mean, even when I came here 4 years ago, there was like, ooh, look at this amazing app where you can scan something and it might be able to, digitally read those characters on a whatever and read it out to you. And now that's not even a might. I mean, that's something that I think is baked into pretty much the phones themselves. It's not even an app you have to go get. Yeah. Which is crazy that we've made that kind of progress in 4 years. So, which is something that we talked about with the design team is the idea of when you're breaking ground and you are innovating in something, what is making that innovation possible? Some assistive technology, as we've discussed. But so do you think that that the ground that you are, going to be breaking with this program would have been possible 4 years ago? Or do you think that there's been technology shifts that have made it so? I'm just curious.
I think honestly, this could have happened at any point in human history, really. I mean, I think it's just being willing to take that leap and, and just teach someone. Not saying that you ignore that part about them, but just being able to have the confidence that they can do it. And we have the proof of it because, we have chefs like, Christine Haar, who won MasterChef in, I think, 2012. And I mean, and she was pretty much self-taught as a blind person. So if a blind person can teach themselves how to get to that level, then what can we do as culinary arts instructors, professionals in education to just assist that person get to that point? I mean, and really all we need from them is just the passion and the drive and the motivation to do it.
So I do want to ask now, have you had students so far come in and do any classes from any blind or vision impaired individuals?
Yes, we have. And we have a pilot program. It's kind of an assessment program, just see if the culinary program would be a good fit for them. And we've had several students that have started going through that process. And we've had a lot of success with that.
Yeah. So I'm curious, those students, you were talking about confidence. And I think that has to be confidence on the instructor side, but also confidence on the student side. So I'm interested to know, like, what kind of things have you seen that the students maybe, like, where is their least confidence? Is it like, I'm afraid I'm going to cut my finger off? Because that's my lack of confidence in the kitchen every day.
Pain.
Yeah.
I would say that's one of the biggest things is these kids live, when we say kids, they're not actually all kids. I always think of all my students as being my kids. It doesn't matter how old they are. They live in a world where everyone is terrified of them ever experience any pain. And I think sometimes having that and just get past that, that like, in a professional working kitchen, you're going to get hurt. You're going to burn yourself a little bit. You're going to cut yourself a little bit, and that's okay. I did a class with a kid called AJ in St. Louis as part of our preparation for putting this together. And he really wanted to make a stir fry. And I told him, like, we're going to have to get that wok really hot. Like, you're going to start to smell that oil start to burn just a teeny bit. And when you put that in, some of that oil is going to splatter back on you and it's going to hurt a bit. And, and he did it and it did. And right away, he's like, but he, getting past that, like, it's not the end of the world. Like, you got a tiny bit of grease on you. Like, yeah, it hurts for a second, then it's gone. And then getting past that. And at the end, like, he gave me a hug. He was crying. I was crying. TV, I was crying. It was just like, it was honestly, in 10 years in education, it was the most powerful moment I've ever had. It was just amazing.
And did you all sit down and eat the stir fry together?
Actually, I tried it, but they were making their meals and then taking them back to share with the other students. So.
Gotcha. I just wanted to know if it was a worth the pain stir fry.
It was.
Awesome. Would you say the same in this when you're working with the students, like in the kitchen?
Most of the fears they got are of the unknown. They come in very nervous, and they usually walk out that first day just walking on air. Yeah. And you're right. And it's powerful. And a lot of them are terrified of getting burnt. They've always been told, stay out of here. You're going to get burnt. You're going to get burnt. Get out of here. And then, like, have you ever been burnt? And they're like, no. I was like, do you bump into things and scrape up your knee a lot? Oh, yeah, once a week. Well, it's kind of like that. Yeah. It's going to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
That's such an interesting thought. I mean, I've honestly never considered that, like, the world that they've been conditioned to live in has kind of those stipulations in it where, wow, has somebody gone their entire life and not actually been burnt?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and they actually don't get to do a lot of time the stuff that like regular kids do because they're so protected. So you think as a regular kid, you get stung by a bee, you scrape your knee, you fall off your bike, you get burns at some point and things like that. And so many of them, they're so protected that like they don't let them sometimes have those experiences. And I think sometimes just like getting over that. I mean, like, yeah, if you're a line cook, you get burnt every single day that you go to work. I mean, it's just a constant occurrence, and most of the time you don't even notice. If you cut yourself, it's just a nuisance. You just run off, you band-aid it, you wash your hands, you get back to work, and it's like, yeah, just kind of getting past those fears. I'd say.
Yeah, that's very true.
That is so cool. What a neat perspective. gonna have to think on that. You know, I'll be eating stir fry and thinking about that tonight.
The guy who made that stir fry.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
if you went out, the guy who made that stir fry, he probably has several burns on himself.
Exactly. I know, I've heard when I make stir fry. So I guess at this point, I just kind of wanted to give you both an opportunity to talk about, I don't know, where this kind of began for you. Like, what made you think I want to pursue helping this section of individuals out? And also, do you see any, that's what I'm looking for, sorry. Opportunities in other disability communities? Like, does one kind of start opening the gateway to others?
I think so. To answer the second part first.
So it's 2 questions.
I think this is definitely the beginning. And the 2 ways to go from there is taking what we've learned and then what other areas could adopt this when it comes to teaching individuals who are blind and visually impaired. But then from our perspective, it comes more from like, okay, well, if we can do this with individuals who are blind and visually impaired, then we can definitely do it with deaf students. And, you know, I think it's got us so much more open to just thinking about the possibilities and being like, you know, why can't we, given that we're building this from scratch, why can't we build accessibility in like from the ground level instead of having to adapt for a student who comes to us in a wheelchair, already be prepared that we're going to get a student in a wheelchair and make sure that when they come in, we already have the workstations and things so that they can still have a full academic experience.
Yeah, remediation on a physical scale, like it's one thing, like remediating documents, that's time consuming and annoying and sometimes expensive if you have to ship them out to have it done. But remediating a place, that's a chunk of money. So yeah, like the thinking about those things from the beginning is so important. I'll
let Chef answer the first part because
I want to hear the backstory.
This is good. So about 5 years ago, he told me about this vision that he had of working with BVI students. And he laid it all out. And first thing I said, what is BVI? That's where I was starting with. And then he told me, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then I heard him out and everything. And I went home thinking, you know, he's usually a brilliant guy, but this is crazy. I don't know about this one, man. I'm kind of nervous. I got to be honest. And then he had been developing that and he had a passion for it for a couple more years. And then when we came to WSU Tech, he says, it's going to happen. And of course, we all come as a group, the culinary people. And we started, and we started traveling around and actually got to work with some kids. And I looked at them like 3 years into it, I'm finally like, this could work.
Yeah, it's doable.
It took me 3 years to get to that place. Like this can work.
Yeah.
I was excited too.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. And like I say, you really, the best way for me to describe it is just like seeing the white space, really just like seeing that, you know, there's an opportunity here and it's really an opportunity to do so much good. And I think that's why so many of us get into education or if we don't get into it originally, it's why we fall in love with education, is the good that we get to do in society and seeing the difference it makes in people's lives. I mean, it's impossible not to love that.
Yeah, absolutely. The commencement speaker last night, one of the student commencement speakers was one of my Comp 1 students. And, you know, I knew a little bit about him, but it wasn't until he asked me to look over his commencement speech for grammatical errors. Which there were very few, I was pleased to see. But until he asked me to look that over, I didn't know that he was a high school student that was going to be graduating with both his certificate in welding from here and his degree in like the same week. And watching him give that speech last night, it was like he had so much pride. And I think that's something that the program you're doing, you're going to see that just every single time you have a student master something. I mean, we all see it, but especially coming from you can't, you know, people are, you can do anything you want. But a lot of times these students are told they can't. So I think that pride that you're going to see in your students is something that we'll all be able to kind of capture and feel. Yeah. So I do want to ask, I know you said you have a kind of test cohort or a pilot that's what it was, the
Yeah.
highlighted support, that's going to lead into your actual cohort. And so when, and I understand these dates may not be fixed in stone, but when do you see that your first like actual BVI cohort starting their official program?
Oh, it starts as fall.
Oh, it does start. Okay.
Starts this
Yeah.
fall.
I did not know that was in stone. So
But part of the plan is we're traveling around to several conferences and a high school conference in particular where we're going to recruit. And there's other opportunities where it's kind of a career placement type gatherings with BVI students, and we're going to haunt those for students.
Mhm.
I like that.
Yeah.
So Niche will be the home of that program
Yes.
and all of
Mhm.
the culinary programs once it's built.
Yes. Mhm.
Right. And so when is this cohort going to start there, or is Niche going to be online for the fall, do we think?
No, Niche should be fully up and running for all of our classes this fall. That's currently the plan. As far as the way we've written out the schedule for the fall, as long as we have 2 kitchens up and running, we should be able to offer all of our classes. And one of those kitchens, the first one we know is going to be ready, is going to be the Envision BVI Innovation Kitchen. I think it's a bit of a mouthful, which is our real big show kitchen down on the ground floor. Now, those students won't necessarily actually be in that kitchen. We have another kitchen on the 3rd floor where the actual culinary school is, which is going to be the one where we're really going to focus on making a lot of the accommodations specifically for the individuals who are BVI.
Awesome. So one last question before we scoot off. Because I don't know that everyone knows like what this means for like the community downtown. So people are going to be able to come have lunch here, right? They're going to be able to eventually use event services from there. And that will be handled by our students, yes?
We will employ the students.
Yes.
So right now we do a certain amount of events through curriculum, and that will just continue to grow because it's important for the students to get, some hands-on experience. So we have a few of those planned, but the eventual plan is to actually have a fully operating restaurant and event center, which will be staffed by the students. So the students will still be doing events in the spaces for curriculum, but then we'll also have like a business with paid events where we have chefs who probably work mostly as a chef, but then also teach. And same thing with hospitality professionals, like a banquets manager who kind of runs the banquets, but then also maybe teaches a banquets class or something.
Sorry,
like
we're getting
that.
a little away from accessibility here, but I just want everyone to know how amazing this is going to be. As you know, I'm eagerly awaiting to have a meal down there when all that's up and running. But I really appreciate you guys making the trek here to NCAT to talk about this, to let everyone know what we're doing, but also, what is possible and the mindset that you guys have adopted that, I feel like a lot of the college is getting there. I've seen mindsets change in the 4 years that I've been here. And every time that we prove that change of mindset had a purpose and was doable, then that's proof that we're on the right path. So thank you for doing what you're doing and for being here. And go fix your content.
Ours has to be particularly on point.
Exactly. But we're always here to support those endeavors too. So reach out to us if you need it. And wave bye to everybody in live stream land.
Yeah,
Sure
Mr.
Oh, we have a question.
Yeah,
Oh my
Mr.
goodness,
John
that's our
Michael.
First interview question.
Long time listener, first time
I
caller.
know, right?
We have a question asking, how do the students check to see if something is cooked all the way through?
How do the students track to see if something is cooked all the way through?
Well, for a piece of protein, you can use, they have either talking thermometers, but then, for a lot of the visually impaired, it's more a question of just having everything a bit larger. So just larger screens. And then we teach, most chefs learn if things are done just by touch, so, you can touch a piece of chicken, you can touch a piece of meat, and you can tell how well done it is and to what level it's cooked. So, I would say that's probably the main thing,
That's
really.
pretty much it, yeah. And but they do have that technology to make sure that things are cooked properly.
Would you say that also applies to, like, we were talking earlier about the different senses. So like if it's something that you like, vegetables or your stir fry or your whatever, do you think that then it's kind of a smell and then a taste maybe type of a thing?
It can be a taste. It could be just something tactile, like snapping a piece of asparagus, or you know, just feel. I mean, you can just feel like, you know, a piece of broccoli. You can feel if like the end of the florets is getting too mushy. But I mean, also we encourage all of our students. You should taste your food. I mean, there's ways for a chef or a cook to taste the food, to check it without it being like against, you know, safety guidelines and things like that. You don't want to taste directly over, you know, a large amount of food that people are eating. You kind of take a step back, you use a one-use utensil. There are certain rules that you go through for that, but it's something they can do and do safely. And it's something more cooks and chefs should do. That we would have much better food out there if all chefs and cooks actually ate their food on a regular basis.
Yeah, I like to know that they're tasting it before they send it to me.
You'll be surprised. Most of the time they're not.
I guarantee you, when they first start, it doesn't occur to them until we teach them that.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, as chefs get older, they get a bit cockier, and they kind of feel like, oh, I know it tastes good. It's like I don't need to check my food. My food is perfect.
That's true. That does happen with age.
Any other questions out there?
Not right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Courtney. Thank you, Strap. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here.
All right.
We'll
Awesome.
talk to you soon. Feel free to stop by anytime and say hello.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
I'm gonna run back. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Thank you all for staying tuned. Wow, what a fantastic discussion with John Michael and Chef Isom. I cannot wait until niche opens, and I absolutely cannot wait until we have our first cohort of blind and visually impaired students moving through the curriculum. And I kind of just wanted to expand on something that I didn't talk about with the chefs, but as we invite students into our world, I think we're going to see the payoffs of all of the work we have done already. As these students go through other classes, if they, you know, have any gen ed classes to go through, if, you know, they have a wonderful experience at WSU Tech, and tell, you know, other colleagues of theirs and friends of theirs from the BVI community that, you know, hey, they should check into programs at WSU Tech. We will be so happy that we've taken the time to make these fixes and to think about accessibility from the moment that we start designing courses, because we won't have to go back and remediate when we have a student show up in a course that needs access in different ways than students we've had before. So I believe that on our schedule is a scoreboard check. And so we're going to do that. And then we'll have our scavenger question and take another top of the hour break for refreshments and such before coming back and talking about the Blackboard content editor and the new way that you can fix items in that content editor. So let's take a look. Callie is at 16th with 348. That's our biggest rival, the people whose buns we want to kick. And we are, you know what, let me just update this. I don't know that I did. Hold on. Mind you, there's 177 participants globally. So the fact that we are 39th with 164 fixes That is not bad at all. Remember, our goal for the day is 2,336. That's to meet what we did last year, but we have all day to do so. So if your friends aren't on the live stream, please invite them to do so. If your colleagues are sitting around and you can convince them to fix a couple of things in their courses, please do so. And now for our second goat scavenger hunt question, which I will read and put in the Teams channel. Once I get back to the Teams channel, sorry. Okay, so question number 2, and this is one that you may have to do a little bit of digging around on the Innovation Cafe. I'll give you that hint at least. And you'll want to pay attention to the details. Okay. For your second goat hut question, it is, according to the 3-year accessibility plan running from fall 2020 to spring 2023. So that's the 3-year accessibility plan we are in right now. What do we want to increase compliance on for fall of 2022? That is increase compliance, not train new. So I would suggest that you take a look at the Innovation Cafe, possibly the accessibility tabs, and find the answer to that question. You can refer back to the Teams channel to find that question and search the Innovation Cafe for it. Make sure that you are putting those in an email that you will send to me or to ITAS at the end of today to be entered into the drawing for those wonderful gift card prizes. With that, everybody take a break, get some snacks. Be back in about 5 minutes. Hey, everybody, welcome back. We're going to get started again here in just a few minutes. I just wanted to go ahead and give you a little something funny to watch while we get back from having some snacks and whatnot. I hope this will tickle your funny bones as much as it tickles mine. That's, if technology will work and load the things I need it to. Okay. One moment, please. Drum roll. I am going to give to you some goats yelling and screaming like humans.
Yeah. What? What can I do for you?
Zapatero, ¿qué opina usted del gobierno de Zapatero? Pues igual que yo. ¿Y qué opina usted? ¿Qué opina usted? ¿Qué opina usted del gobierno canario? ¿Y de los ayuntamientos de la isla?
All right, that's enough of that absolute silliness. I just had to share with you my favorite thing about goats is when they scream like people, and I can't help but laugh. So with that, let's jump back in to our Blackboard course here. This hour, we are going to learn about the course report tutorial quickly, and then it looks like we have a comment in the Teams channel from Linda Session asking about what does it mean to have the HTML's heading structure does not start at the right level. I actually have not answered that yet, Linda, and that's something that we can talk about since HTML refers to, in the Ally Report lingo, refers to exactly what we're looking at this hour, which is the Blackboard text editor. And so that particular error is basically saying that somehow there's a heading that it starts with a heading that is like a 2 or a 3 rather than like a heading 1. So just like in a Word document, you always want your heading structures to be 1, 2, 3, and so far down. That way they are read appropriately by a screen reader and assistive technology. So if you started at heading 2, that could be telling somebody, oh, did I miss a heading 1 somewhere? Is there something more important that this is categorized under? So I'm not sure if this example has a heading issue, but we can actually make it have one if we need to. Or I can pop into CED 115 and see what you're seeing. So let me jump in here. Let me show you a couple of things about this text editor here. So first of all, you'll note that we have an Ally meter in the top corner. And this changes as we make changes. So as you are creating instructions for your test or a little synopsis about what students should walk away from watching a video with, whatever it might be that you're doing in the text editor, you are going to have this Ally meter telling you where you're at. So if you put something in that say has poor contrast, it's going to drop down from 100 to whatever. When you want to take a look at the things that may be giving you a poor score, you can select that. It's going to open the interface. It's going to preview the text. And for me, it's telling me right now that I have 5 text fragments with insufficient contrast. This might be one of my favorite features of this new text editor. And that is that for something like insufficient contrast, if I want, and I don't have to do this to all 5 occurrences, but if I wanted to knock all 5 of these contrast issues out at once, I can come over here and choose. It even offers me a contrast appropriate selection of colors. Maybe I don't want black. I just want this nice dark gray. And I can select that, and then I can ask it to apply to all 5 occurrences. And then when I select apply, it has now taken care of any of those contrast issues that it had highlighted, changing that color. And it's moved my meter. And then it's going to show me the remaining issues that I can resolve. And so there are a variety of issues. I mean, all the same things that you might find in a Word document, you can find in text editor content. One of them that people ask about all the time is this item has empty headings. And it says, consider removing empty headings from the item, meaning that something here has been qualified as a subheading 1, but it's really just a blank line. It has nothing in it, which would also be very confusing if you were navigating by heading structures and you hit a heading 1 and it says blank. You're like, what? So all we would have to do is then select this option it has to remove all 2 empty headings or just remove the 1. And now it's moved up to 76. It says this item contains tables that are missing headers. And that's a pretty big jump. That'd bring us up to 87. It's going to show me the table. And then it's going to say, would you like to apply a table header? And I can tell it that, yeah, the first row is a header. The first column is a header, or both. The first row and column are headers. However, I set it when I hit apply, 86%. that easy. And now you can see that it has delineated both my first column and my first row visually, but it also made that change in the metadata. And you can go through each of these items. Some of the items, because this is very new to us, the guidance is still coming soon. And we'll be able to get that guidance soon. But if you aren't for sure exactly what to do, you can always reach out. Says this item, for instance, has objects that are missing an alternative description. I can probably come over to this item and oh, maybe I cannot. I might be able to go to the item link. Let's see if I give it a title. Because this is very new, and sometimes you're going to find different things that you've done, or maybe old, pardon me, older things that you did a long time ago that you haven't looked at for accessibility. You might come across some of these weird errors that don't have guidance and that we haven't even seen before. For instance, the one that I'm looking at right now. We're just going to say link to video and see if that makes it. In which case, when you find these weird errors, please send them to me so that we can look at them and see if we can fix them. And if not, report them to Blackboard and say, hey, we don't know how to fix this. Tell me how to fix this. So you can go through this WYSIWYG editor. This particular was one that Blackboard gave out as an example. And so there's a lot of different things. Chances are you are not going to see this many items in your WYSIWYG. But the biggest thing that you can do for yourself is once you've made all these changes and your meter is looking so much better, make sure you hit submit on your text item so that it saves all that hard work that you have done. If you have, for instance, a massive list of things like we were just looking at, you may want to submit every now and again if it's taking you a while to work on them. So one other way that you can kind of tell where these text editor issues are and what they are, we'd mentioned in the last tutorial, but I'm going to go back and I'm going to show you again. Any of these items that say the HTML content, those are going to be those items that are in the text editor, that like what we were just working in. If it says, though, that the HTML content contains videos without captions, so that's actually going to be referring to a video that you've probably embedded as an item, and it's looking at it from an HTML content point of view. And I will tell you that Ally at this point only looks at certain video platforms that are put in. And others it can't read because they don't have the ability to talk to each other in that way. However, Ally can look at YouTube videos, and Ally will flag your YouTube videos as not having captions if they are auto-generated. So that's something that will at least tell you where you need to go back and take a look. Now, are auto-generated captions unacceptable? Not if they're accurate. If the person speaks very well and clearly and the captions are accurate to a degree that they can be understood, that's great. But you also need to make sure that you go back and check any of those auto-generated captions so that they don't have something that would possibly be embarrassing or incorrect, or that, you know, could misinform a student and hurt their ability to answer assessment questions correctly. So other HTML items that you might want to be aware of, like we already looked at contrast issues, images without a description, and then embedded objects without alternative descriptions, empty headings, form elements without a label. Those are all things that are going to be things you might see in a WYSIWYG. For the most part, the ones that I would look at would be things like the HTML content without discernible text. That's like links or lists that aren't formed correctly. Those are items that we see fairly frequently in the Ally report as well when it comes to HTML. And you can always, like I said, select these items and see where they apply and then go to each of those items and fix them. So we've kind of talked a little bit about the WYSIWYG editor. The biggest thing that I can say is, because it's new, because we're still learning about it, is, again, if you find something weird, take a screenshot of it, send it in to me, or say, hey, Crystal, can we meet to do a call? Something like this, I can take back to the North American user group. I can get feedback from Ally users across the nation, and also from the developers and promoters of Ally who attend those meetings. And we can get answers for us and help the community at large. But if you just go, I don't know how to fix that, and don't bring it to our attention, then we don't make that step to getting those answers and making it better. Well, that brings me back to our chat. Courtney, do we have anything happening in the chats or the Teams channel?
Nothing right now. I will let you know.
Did we get Linda Sessions' question answered?
What
it was
question?
in the Teams channel. It was,
oh my gosh, I have not looked at that one.
Oh, no, it's okay.
Shame
we
on
talked
me.
about it.
She said, got it.
Okay, woo. I just want to thank Courtney for being my eyes in multiple places. I already have like 3 monitors with multiple tabs open, and I can't even remember where the tabs I need are. So if it wasn't for Courtney, I would not see your comments at all. So give Courtney a big round of applause. By the way, this is her first picture content day. So I'm glad that she could be part of the team today.
I'm learning a lot.
Yay, learning. That is the most exciting part. We have just a few minutes, since we just don't have anything in the Q&A right at the moment. We're going to watch a video. It is pre-recorded because the INF instructors had things they had to do today. And this video highlights a student who started in the program in the fall, and INF is information technology. And this student is a fully blind student. So this very powerful video is one that I hope will inspire and also make people think about their own areas and what are the hidden things that we don't think about when we think about digital accessibility, which we've focused on for so long, that are practical if we have a student come into our world and want our knowledge and our education. And as soon as I can get that pulled up, I will share it and we will watch it. Okay, I am switching to mute mode for me. I'm going to share my screen with you all. And enjoy this amazing interview with Anthony Rosas, Tony Rosas, as he likes to be called, and our student Garrett.
Hi, my name is Garrett Turner. I'm a blind student going to WSU Tech. I am in their information technology program. Here is my accessibility testimony regarding the college and how I, along with the individuals here, have helped make accessibility better.
Hello, my name is Anthony Rosas. I'm an instructor for the IT program here at WSU Tech. Garrett is my student. I will say that Garrett has been an outstanding student, just great attitude, willingness to learn, and I've even learned something from him too.
What has been the biggest barrier to success from an accessibility standpoint?
Specifically for this program, there are some pieces of software which are partially accessible, and the interesting part for me is I have found that partially accessible software is harder to deal with than software that is either not accessible at all or completely accessible, because you have, for example, in like a networking software, you can read one part of it, the next part won't read, but one part halfway over the screen will. And so it's frustrating. You have to figure out what parts read, what parts don't. And then for the parts that don't read, you have to get someone in and have them help you on those parts. So there's, in the software that we use, there's a lot of pointing and clicking to that.
Okay. The one of the biggest barriers I've come across is that one, it was not really pushed on me before. It opened up my eyes that we have to be working with potential disabled students. That's something I'd never done before. And he has opened my mind to making sure that we are accessible to any and all students.
What has worked well for you?
So most of the labs that have been given to me, they're in PDF, but 95% of the time they're very accessible. They provide good alt image descriptions, and they are like when I first started here, it was a very good experience when I first opened up some of the labs, because I didn't have to go and ask someone to change it. I didn't have to do any of that. Another part that's been a very good experience is actually working with the instructor on what's been inaccessible. The instructors are very good at working with me. Hey, is this accessible? Oh, it's not? What do we do to make it better? And I really enjoy working alongside them. It's not, oh, we'll try to make this better. It's, what can we do for you specifically that will make this better?
What has worked well for me is I've learned, first of all, to manipulate the accessibility settings to allow for everyone to be able to access it. A big part of this would be Garrett's attitude. He has encouraged me to continue trying to make it better. He wants the entire program to be better for everyone who has a disability, and that's encouraging for me.
What has been the biggest learning curve or opportunity?
So the biggest learning curve or opportunity, I'd say learning that helping, like being able to help with the instructors specifically on accessibility work. Previously it was like in my high school and all that, it was, oh hey, this isn't accessible. And then it's, all right, give us a couple of days. And then a couple of days later, it actually showed up. And if it wasn't accessible, either we dealt with it or we waited a couple more days. I really, really enjoy the opportunity to work with them. And not only it's a very good accessibility, it's a very good environment accessibility wise. And at first it wasn't just me that was a bit afraid. One of the instructors was like, well, I've never done this before. And I'm like, that's okay, I'll do my best to help. And it's turned into a very good relationship. If something doesn't work, I email him and I say, hey, this isn't working, and he'll get back to me. He'll be like, all right, we'll work on it. It's collaboration. You can't, well, you can try, but it's hard to have a good accessibility foundation without collaboration from both the accessibility community, as in your students that have the disabilities, and the instructors, because the instructors don't know everything and the students don't know everything. It's always a collaborative effort. So if people are watching this and they have the ability to collaborate with, whether they be students or whether they be instructors, you want to make sure to at least try to collaborate, because that will foster connection, and that will allow accessibility to grow.
The biggest learning curve, first of all, for me, is just learning how important accessibility is within our education system. We have found some areas that are lacking. Some of them we're able to correct on the spot or within an hour or so. Some of them, they are above us. We have to go to third-party vendors to see if they can update their systems so that we can access them better for our students.
Wow, that was like the second or third time I've watched that video, and I get excited every time. I put it in the Teams channel, but something I want to point out about what Garrett said, and that is a student perspective in an area that does have hands-on type of elements that we haven't looked at accessibility for really. But the idea of the collaboration, the collaborative aspect, we can do our best, but until you have somebody who's actually utilizing a thing the way they have to utilize it, we don't know the biggest barriers that we're facing. And I think facing those challenges together, I like what Garrett said about it. Not only, it's not only smarter, because the more perspectives you get, the more likely you're going to find a solution, but it also creates connection with the students and engages them in the process. I guarantee there are going to be things we're going to take away because of Garrett's work with the instructors in the INF program that are going to make that program better for not just him, but actually any student who comes into that program, and he gets to walk away feeling, hey, I made my school better, which is a prideful thing for students to feel. And also to be able to put that on a resume that, you helped increase the accessibility of an INF program at a tech college. That's huge. So I want to give another huge shout out to the INF instructors over there, JD, Matt Lewis, Tony Rosas, of course, Garrett. They have been doing such amazing work, and nobody even really knew it except for them. So, if they can do it, we can all do it. And we're making progress that we didn't think we would make even 3 or 4 years ago. In part to wonderful people like you who are tuning into live streams like this and learning more about how to fix your content. And also learning more about just accessibility in general. And I want to take a minute to ask all of you out there if there is a particular, since we have a little bit of extra time before we head into the last chance hour starting at 1 p.m., which will have our Panopto accessibility tutorial, some open Q&A time, the final progress update of the day, and then our goat hunt question 4 and closing comments. So before we get to all of that, we have a little bit of time here at the end of the hour, and I am more than happy to walk through any tool that we use and talk about the accessibility concepts behind using that tool, whether it's Word, PowerPoint. Panopto's coming up next hour, so we won't talk about that. But if you have a vote for a tool you'd like me to walk you through for accessibility in the next 20 minutes, please put it in the live stream or in the Teams channel, and Courtney will let me know, and we can do a little improvisational on the fly tutorial. In the meantime, let me give you one more super fun taste of goat compilations here. This might be my favorite compilation of the day.
Don't do it again.
You just gotta love baby goats, right? I mean, hopping and bouncing and dancing and being all crazy. I certainly hope that we get to have goats at faculty in service. Just a note about that, actually, our goats are going to be homegrown goats. Chef Chadwick, whom you saw in the interview in the 11 o'clock hour, he actually has goats of his own and is willing to bring our goats, but we can only have goats if we meet the magic number of, that's my sloppy handwriting, and it's not even mirrored. Sorry, 2,336 fixes. I have faith in you. Remember, find your easy fixes today. You know, this is a great time to identify, yes, big fixes like major documents that are going to take some rework, or, you know, things that maybe you have to fix them first in Word and then you have to go back and fix them in or turn them back into PDFs. Maybe those are things that you put on the back burner and instead look at things in your courses like fixing images without alt text, or contrast issues, or titles of PDFs, which, by the way, Courtney, has anyone suggested something they might like to have me go over?
There are no suggestions at this time.
I'm left to my own devices, and I'm okay with that because I want to show you how to fix the most common heading. In fact, actually, let me give you a glimpse into the backside of the Ally report. This is not what you see in your course reports, but it's what I can see from an admin perspective. And this lets me look at the entire college's Ally report data. Drum roll, please. Just like your reports, you can see the total content created for the college, but we have some other things like filtering by term. So I want to do academic year. This is going to look at the live courses for this academic year, 2021 to 22. And it looks like our overall score as a college is 86.8%. And that's broken down in between files, which are 68.7, and our WYSIWYG or content editor, which is a staggering 99.3%. I mean, that line just can't get any closer to 100, which tells me you guys know how to create accessible content in the content editor. Well done. We can also take a look at masters, which will look at all of our master courses in the college. Pretty consistent. Those are sitting at 86%. But the coolest part about all of this, and I'm just going to go ahead and stick with the masters since the content numbers are pretty much the same, if I scroll down, the very first item that I see, the one that we have the most issues with, is also one of the absolute simplest. And I think Linda Sessions, you even mentioned it earlier, that it is the making sure that your documents have a title. And what that means is not a title on the front of the document. It's actually a piece of metadata or data on the back end of the document in the properties area that tells, like a website that opens it up, or various other outputs for that file. It tells them what the name of the file is. So let's just take a look at the documents that are missing a title. We have them from all over everywhere. This is not an error that discriminates between sections, which means that everybody has something they can fix in this world. And what that looks like, and a way that you could fix that, you will have to use the PDF Pro software that's on the remote desktop. But it's pretty simple. If you have the PDF, let me open a PDF. For instance, I'm going to move our little goat flyer over here into the screen where you can see it. Oh no, have I not been sharing my screen this entire time? Snaps.
Sorry, Crystal, I should have checked.
That's okay. Okay, let me backtrack just a smidge. This is the Ally report for the institution. And this is that line I was talking about that is so gorgeous. It shows our WYSIWYG content is almost near 100%. I'm now looking in the master courses, and this is a report that only admins can see, but if you ever need information from this report, you can reach out and request it. This is where you can see what the biggest issue across the entire college is. That's documents missing titles. The second, of course, is that the image does not have a description. So those are the two big ones that we have the most problems with. And here is a PDF, and I'm going to show you what it means by title. So let's go over to File to find our Properties area. And when we open this file up and we go down to Properties, you'll notice that it says Title, Goat Flyer 2. Fantastic. Now, if we opened a PDF that didn't have this title, or didn't have a title, this area would be blank. We would have to open this PDF in a professional version of Adobe, so Adobe Pro, that's on the remote desktop. And then we would be able to put in an appropriate title, Go Flyer 2. And then we would hit OK, and it would save that. Now, here's the thing. If you are creating something in a Word document or a PowerPoint, and you know that you're going to turn it into a PDF, and you don't want to have to go in and use the remote desktop, you can actually do that before you turn it into a PDF. So let me show you that process. We are just going to open up that. What am I looking for? Let's open up the Your Accessibility Committee PowerPoint from earlier, because I'm not sure that I changed the title on that. So here we have a PowerPoint. Wonderful. And we can go into File. And we can look and see that, oh, it does have a title. But if I didn't have a title, I could put one in. And you want to make sure that I try to make the title of my document match the title of the file name. And then everything is consistent, so that if a user opens a PDF in a browser, it shows the same thing as the name of the file. It would say the same name regardless of how they access it. So this is one of those consistency things that helps deter people from being confused. I thought I was opening a PowerPoint about the Accessibility Committee, but the top of my browser says it's the field trip form for Cowley College. Not saying that that might actually be a real situation we encountered not too long ago, where the, I believe it was the grade, the incomplete grade contract form was still labeled in this metadata as a permission slip form from Cowley Community College. So when it opened in a browser, that's what it showed. one of the reasons we change these things. Once I get my title in there and I hit my back button, I can save. And now if I turn it into a PDF, if I have Pro, but if I was in the remote desktop, I would choose Acrobat tab, select Create PDF, and then I would make that PDF. It's going to publish it. It's going to convert it, and it's bringing over all of that goodness that I did to make it accessible as a Word document. And now if I come over to my File tab and I select Properties, boom, it has a title. So if you're making your own documents, do all of these things when you're in the PowerPoint or the Word document, and then you don't have to worry about them when you convert them to a PDF. And of course, always take the time to convert them using this Acrobat feature so that you bring over all of those heading structures and all of that good metadata that helps this be accessible and read aloud by screen readers and other things. Let's see. Getting back to our report, now that you can actually see it, the other item that might be an easy fix for you today would be to look through your accessibility reports for images that don't have descriptions. So if I look at this big report, I can see that there are lots of courses with images that don't have descriptions, 11 pages of courses. That's not just the issues. And you could go in and use your ally meter to add those descriptions. So let me actually find, I'm going to use a PRD 110. This is an old course that probably we need to archive because, oh my goodness, look at these images and look at the number of them that are things like online learning banner. So this is something to think about when you are working out of a course that's not a master and you haven't ever really looked in your content collection. Maybe you've been copying courses from semester to semester. There are things that can be hiding in deep levels of folders that aren't even applicable. Just click on that. This is a WATC banner, but it's still being read by Ally. And furthermore, not only is it useless to our students because we're not using it, it's also bringing down our Ally score. So if you see things like this, you're obviously welcome to select that and indicate the image is decorative. It's obvious it's not being used to our students because we don't use that branding anymore. But that's also something where this could indicate that you need to take a deep dive into your course content and maybe clean some things out. Apparently we need to. Most of these type of issues, though, are going to happen in courses that are scheduled to be archived, and that archival process just takes a while. So one of these days, these will not count at all in our Ally score. But if you find ones that are being used, perhaps, for instance, we had an attendance manager image here, I can say, oh, I know what kind of alt text that needs. I can open my little alt text guy here, or my interface, and I can type in the alt text. So whatever that might be, I would type it in, I would select add, and it would make that fix for me. This is an amazingly easy fix to make, especially if the image is not complex. So certainly check your courses, your masters, for these types of fixes today. And then maybe make notes to yourself of what things might take a little bit longer to fix in the future. And before we head into last chance hour and take another short pause for the cause, we are going to look again at our scoreboard here. Oh my goodness, around the worldwide, it is up to 51,000 fixes with 17 hours and 4 minutes remaining. It looks like we still have some of the same leaders, Coastal Pines Technical College. They are crazy, I have to say. Last year, they ended up with some ginormous amount of fixes, over like 10,000. But we have, we have Kansas City, Kansas Community College is in at number 15. Cowley is at 17. And we are, I'm going to update one more time. Showing our full participant list. And we have moved up to number 37 with 205 fixes. Way to go, WSU Tech. That's a lot. In just an hour, you guys have like added 100, almost 100 more fixes. So keep up that strong work. I can guarantee you as soon as this live stream is done, I've got 3 hours that are going to be devoted to fixing stuff myself. So you're not in this alone. Know that the designers are working tirelessly, making fixes in masters. And before we take a break, I just want to thank you all again for tuning into this live stream, for being here, making your content accessible, and having a little fun with us today. So I'm going to mute. I'm going to put some music back on for you. Go grab a drink, stretch your legs, come back for the last hour, and let's see if we can't move that meter up even a little bit farther. Hey, everybody, before I went on break, I completely forgot to give you the goat hunt question number 3. This is a special question because completing the activity that goes along with this question actually means you're supporting accessibility beyond today and beyond just our courses. So goat hunt question 3, if I can type things correctly. I'm putting it in the Teams channel right now. So your task for this part of the scavenger hunt is to find, copy, and paste the URL, the website for the Accessibility Summer Camp registration page. And this is the big part, and you have to register for summer camp. So let me explain. First of all, if you register, you get all of the updates and the information about the recordings that get released. And I understand it's the middle of summer, and some of you may indeed be in Fiji or someplace magical riding dolphins. And I would not expect you to join if you were riding a dolphin in Fiji. However, if you don't register, you don't get the information about all of the recordings of all of the breakout sessions. And we have some amazing sessions coming up. Plus, it looks really great when WSU Tech is supported by WSU Tech instructors. So registering is super easy. It's free. You can attend. It's virtual, so you can attend in your pajamas from home if that's your jam. You can also attend for whatever you're available. Maybe you can only attend for 2 hours, or just the keynote, or maybe the student panel. That's okay too. We just want to see you there. We want to create that community and have that sense of accessibility community. And y'all are experts really at this point. The faculty from this institution know a lot about accessibility. And so having our faculty involved in those conversations on that day, it would just be amazing. So goat hunt question 3, find, copy, and paste the URL for the Accessibility Summer Camp registration page into the email you are sending me with the rest of your answers, and make sure you register. Now, if you've already registered, that's fine. Casey is on standby to go look up anyone who sends me their goat hunt answers and make sure that they are registered. And as long as that's the case, then you have completed goat hunt question number 3. And with that, we are into our final hour. We've got a couple of items that we're going to go over. We're also going to offer a Zoom in time, meaning if you want to join the live stream yourself to talk about accessibility, or if you have an actual document or something you want us to take a look at and fix in real time, we can absolutely do that this hour. And then we'll have our final progress update of the live stream and our last goat hunt question. That's all coming up, but we are going to start off with a Panopto tutorial. And Panopto, if you are not familiar, is brand new to us. We're transitioning to it out of Nomia. And we spent so much time in Nomia learning about accessibility and how to utilize the features that were there for us. And so we're going to be relearning some of those things with Panopto. But the nice aspect of that is that there are some features Panopto has that Nomia didn't. And one of those features is an easier audio description track that's more flexible and can actually be turned on and off for the user. So let's pull up Panopto. And we'll get started talking about some of the accessibility. And this one might be a great place for if you have questions, because we are still trying to figure out what questions we have. And we have access to all the Panopto gurus to help us answer these questions. So as we go through this, if you see something that you want to know more about, and if I can't answer that for you, we can certainly send it up the chain and get those answers for all of us. Now, let me share my screen one more time. So I am in Panopto. Uh-oh, there we go. I'm in Panopto. And from Panopto, I'm going to go to my folder, which has all of the videos I've created. Oh, look, fainting goats and baby goats. I'll watch those again later, but let's say that I want to work on accessibility for one of my videos. Now, this What is Fix Your Content Day video is already showing me that it has closed captions. One of the nice things about Panopto, you don't have to request automatic captions. You don't have to take that step of going in and saying, hey, give me captions, please. Instead, it does it for you. And all we have to do is go in and double check the accuracy of those captions and make any changes that we want. So if we go to the settings or the edit for our video, we can get there in multiple ways. So let's select edit. And this will actually open up our entire video where we can make edits like this, but all we have to do is go into these captions and select the caption button. And here are all of the captions that it has auto-generated. And so I can, it's as easy as coming in here and changing any punctuation that I want. I just select that particular caption and change it to say whatever. Now, I can't actually run the video and do this with you guys at the same time, but I could if it was just me listening to it. But since we're Zooming and live streaming, I could very easily hit play. I could listen to whatever and check the captions as they're going. I can change my punctuation. And once I've made a change, it saves it. So it's saved and I don't have to worry about going and clicking a save button. You'll notice this is actually auto captioned. I left this completely raw in order to use today because I wanted to point out some things that Panopto does that Nomia didn't, one of which is punctuation. Nomia tried to punctuate, but not very well. This even puts in things like question marks and capitalizes the beginning of sentences. Even sophisticated punctuation like a comma after well. The things it doesn't do is capitalize words that it doesn't know need to be capitalized. So something like blackboard. And sometimes if you pause, it may put a period in where one doesn't belong. And then the other thing to look for are words that are like synonyms. So allies could be plural, A-L-L-I-E-S, or it could be ally like the tool we use, apostrophe S. So those are some of the things that you want to go back in and look for. But overall, the accuracy of Panopto's captions is stunning. And having that extra layer of kind of intuitive punctuation makes it much easier to change those captions. And you also have some options over here to edit or delete. If, let's say, it has captioned something and you don't think that that's right and you need to redo it, you can select edit. And it opens this edit caption box where you can even change the timestamp. If your timings are a bit off, you can go here and physically change the timings. I don't want to save those changes right now. Yes, fine. But you can also delete that entire section if it's something that you don't feel needs to be there. You can also, let's say that there's a big gap of white space that maybe you need to put no sound or no caption on, and you need to enter that yourself. You can always come to the bottom to this add your caption box and select add whatever you would like. So sound. Now I can hit enter and I can add my caption, and it's going to add it wherever I had previously had highlighted. But let's say that I need to change that because it needs to be like minute 27 to or second 27 to second 30, then I just hit that and I can come in here and change that to 27, select save. And now you'll see the progression by second that it goes to this area of no sound. So you can add captions if it doesn't get something right. You can change very, very detailed down to the second timings to get captioning right. If you want to go that deep, but for the most part, with my experience thus far, it is very intuitive to what you're saying and much easier to fix because that punctuation is already there. So when we're done with our tweaks to our captions, we can select this apply button. It's the apply changes option in the upper right corner. It'll tell me that the changes have been applied and I can close. And then it will take me back out to my video and what it would look like to someone watching it. If I need to edit it again from my main screen, I can easily come into that and select my settings, which you'll notice has shows me what I have, that I have English captions, that I have about 6 minutes of caption time. And so that's what the edit looks like the settings looks like versus the edit. So if you find yourself looking at it and going, I don't see where I can edit it, it probably means you've clicked on settings. And what you need to do is come over here and click on edit to get to those captions. And once you get to the captions and you get those done, you may want, if you have a video that needs it, to do audio descriptions. For instance, a perfect candidate for audio descriptions would have been those YouTube compilation videos I've been showing you all day. To have a audio description track that describes what the goats are doing, because nobody in the video is describing what they're doing. Now, everybody might not want that. However, if I was to type an audio description of what's going on in the video, then Panopto's reader will read that aloud, and that can be turned on or off by the user. So I could put something like, baby goats are jumping off a slide. And just like captions, I can change these timings to make them suit wherever it needs to be. And I don't have to do the voiceover. Actually, Panopto will do a voiceover for me. I would also apply those. If I was going to actually apply them, I would apply them using the same method that we did the captions with. But I'm actually going to delete those. And then I do want to show you a few other accessibility tools. There's caption styling. And so actually to do this, let's get out of here. Let's just go back to our main page and let's open up this video like we're going to watch it. So from this watching area, I can turn captions on here, which means that they're going to be on along the bottom of my video. Just there you can see. I can go ahead and choose this 3-dot browser. And this is really nice that I can position my captions in regards to the screen. I can change the color and the background. I can change the size to make them bigger or smaller. So those are some of the caption settings that the user watching a Panopto video has offered to them. I can also change my speed, the speed at which the video plays, if I need to slow it down. Or as John Michael made a really great point, that a lot of people who are used to using assistive technology like screen readers oftentimes consume things much faster because they're used to that pace and they've trained themselves to hear and to process at that speed. So maybe this is way too slow for them, and cranking it up a notch is a better way for them to consume this information. So they can do that. They can turn the captions completely on or off. They can also come over to this area over here and have a like almost a transcript version of the captions running. If they want to be able to read them or read ahead, they have that option over here. Some people who utilize captions prefer having it more like this left side panel, as opposed to having them flash up on the screen. So now students have both of those options, whereas before the only caption option they had was the CC captions along the bottom of the screen. There are so many other cool features with Panopto that I hope you all will get in there and try them out. It's pretty intuitive, and you're already used to kind of doing captions. So it really is just clicking a couple of different buttons, but the concepts behind what make good captions and what makes good videos, none of that changes. That all stays the same as we have been learning with Nomia for the last couple of years. Something else to think about is make sure that you are putting in those details to your videos, these little bits that tell people what that video is about, so that if a student was perhaps going through the class folder of videos looking for a particular video and it wasn't apparent to them by the title, then they would also be able to access the description of that video. And so having descriptions, whether it's here attached to your video or of course, when you attach them in the Blackboard instance, it's always important to have those descriptions. People know what they're going to be watching, what to expect, and what you expect them to take away from it. That's kind of a usability, accessibility thing, kind of like what Diana was talking about earlier in the day. Does anyone have any questions about Panopto accessibility?
We don't have any in the comments just yet, Crystal, but we'll see if we catch any.
Cool. All right, so I'm actually going to open up a couple of things I wanted to show everybody today. These are some resources while we're kind of formulating any Panopto questions or any open Q&A or documents that you want help with. We're going to kind of move into that time. So feel free to put those things in the chat. But I do have a couple of resources. I'm going to put them in the Teams channel as well, but I'm going to share them with you here. They are fun links, I think, and something that maybe we don't talk about enough with our students are the Ally alternative formats. We do all this work, and yet how do they consume them? Many of you will know how they consume them. Some of you may not. And so for those of you who may not, let me just show you. Sorry, I shut down Blackboard. Let me get that back. For each of these items that Ally reads, it puts out alternative formats. And those are something that our students can use to interact with the materials in different ways. So, of course, now I can't find any. Oh, there's one. So if I had this research paper template and a student wanted an alternative format for it, from the student perspective, whereas they won't see this file, they will see this A with the downward facing arrow. They can select it and it's going to pop up this beautiful menu of all of the ways that Ally can output this document for them. It could maybe be HTML for viewing in the browser and on mobile devices, EPUB, electronic braille and MP3 version for listening, Beeline Reader, which enhances it for easier and faster on-screen reading. It does some cool masking things and changing like contrast of words for reading. But there's also a translated version. I don't know how many of you know about this, but if you select the translated version, your minds are about ready to be blown. This is all the languages that we can translate things into. Yeah, that's insane. So if we have a student who's English as a second language student from, I don't know, Estonia or Croatia, they can come in here and choose one of these formats, they would select it and select download. It might take a few minutes because it is going to try to download and translate an entire document, but it will give them that output. Is it perfect? No. It's as good as basically live translation of things can be, and it uses Amazon's translating services. So it's pretty fantastic that we have this option open to students, but students oftentimes don't know about it. Oh, here we go. Okay, so now I have a Gaelic version of my English 230 paper template, and I can actually toggle back and forth here between those two versions. So that's available to your students. It's amazing. And if your students aren't for sure, this is the resource I wanted to share with you today. And I'm sorry, let me get that in the Teams chat real quick. This is the Blackboard help page. It's the Ally help page for students. And not only does it show what I kind of just showed you, but if you scroll to the very bottom, there's this amazing table that actually shows what needs you might have and what formats might fit those needs. So this is great for students to use, but if a student even reaches out to you as an instructor and it's like, I really need the ability to copy, paste, or search this stuff because of the way that I learn with maybe a dyslexia or a cognitive processing issue. Oh, look, you can come in here and see a PDF would be great for that. HTML would be great for that, or even the translated version might be great for that if they're ESL learners. For highlighting and note-taking and bookmarking, or on a mobile device, if they prefer listening or if they prefer reading. Also text to speech with speed adjustment. So those are going to be all of our like screen reader or narrate users. And this will show you which ones you can recommend to them or that they can go and download themselves. Very cool resource. Put it in the Teams channel. I would certainly bookmark that in case you have a student who has one of these needs and you don't have to try to figure out which alternative format is best. It's already going to tell you right here. So another resource that many people might not realize is available to them is that Blackboard Ally has a LMS help page for instructors specifically. And this is an area where, you know, let's say that you are working on something over the summer and it happens to be early morning or late at night, and I'm not around and Courtney's not around, nobody's around, and you have an Ally question. This is a great place to go to find those questions. Anything from what's new about Ally to the course accessibility report. If you are running into, I don't know what I'm doing in the new content editor, you can take a peek at some of the things that they have listed here. I believe somewhere in here, there's also a video about the WYSIWYG editor that you can watch. I know we've included that video on our Panopto, I'm sorry, not our Panopto, our Ally training materials when we first launched this WYSIWYG editor. So this is a great resource for you to find what it is that you might be struggling with this very easy box type menu where you can watch videos about Ally, learn about FAQs and the like. I don't see anything happening over here in the live stream, or I mean, sorry, in the Teams channel. But those are all of the tutorials that we had lined up for today. And let me just stop sharing my screen, as well as some of those resources for you that might help you throughout the summer as you work on your courses. With that, I do want to take a second and look into the final progress update of the day. We'll go ahead and take a look at that leaderboard one more time. And we actually may end the live stream a little bit early unless we've got any questions or comments that come in the next few minutes. Sorry, there we go. Here's the leaderboard. Let me refresh. Okay, here we go. Showing the full list. We have KCC, that's Kansas City Community College, at 856 at number 15. Cowley is catching up with them at 584. And then we have a lot of people hanging around.
Crystal, I saw us at number 37.
Oh, thank you. I was looking back up. At 220 fixes, we are at number 37, which is fantastic. Out of 177 participants, that's amazing. But I'm pretty sure that by the end of the day, that number is going to go up a little bit because we have some strong people working on fixing their content. And I guess before we go ahead and get to the very last goat hunt question and closing comments, Courtney, anything else out there in live stream land?
We do not have any questions.
Okay. That being said, I am going to deliver. We're going to actually end a little bit early so that we can all buckle down on making fixes. But the Teams channel is open even if the live stream is not going. So make sure that if you have any questions, you put them in the Teams channel. I'm going to be monitoring it for the rest of the afternoon, possibly this evening. You just never know. Just make as many fixes as you can to your courses over the course of the day. And our final goat hunt question. Sorry, I got to copy and paste it. And I will put this into. So our final goat hunt question is actually about goats rather than accessibility, because we've come this far and we've learned so much. And now I want you to learn one more thing about goats. So the question is, what is a common name? It can be one of many. I'll accept quite a few answers on this one because there are quite a few answers when you Google it. But what is a common name for a myotonic goat? That is the last of the 4 goat hunt questions. Make sure that you are sending those in an email to me. I'm going to put, not that you need this. If you're in the Teams channel, you should be able to get my email just by typing in my name, but I'm going to put it there anyway. You can send it directly to me. If you forget and accidentally send it in as a ticket to ITAS, that's okay too. They'll send it on over. So make sure that you complete the tasks if there are any, and you answer those questions. And yeah, I think that's ITAS and the Fix Your Content Day live stream. Signing off for the day. Thank you for joining us and have a wonderful rest of Fix Your Content Day.